Okay, so today we're going to learn how to set up the water tunnel, fill it, and then also drain it. So first things first, we need to take the cover off the water tunnel. The main purpose of this cover is to keep the dust outside of the water tunnel so TAs don't have to clean. When you take the cover off, you can just put it on the desk over here. And then when you take the cover off, on this side of the water tunnel, closest to the wall, there'll be the manual for the water tunnel. It's got the actual manual on how to put it together, and it's also got the manual on how to use it. And then over here, we have our dies and the valves for the dies, as you can see here. We have red, green, and blue. And the way we use it is we'll hook it up to the air compressor, the compressed air from the building. So first things first, I'm going to show you how to fill it. On the bottom here by the motor, over here on this side, you have your auto control panel. Right here is your hose to fill it up. What you're going to do is you're going to take it, unscrew it apart, and then you're going to place the threaded side end into the water tunnel. Make sure that it stays in good so it doesn't fall out while you're putting this end on and turning the water on. You then need to move the flow bench because this water faucet leaks a little bit, so you're going to need to move it out of the way. And take your end of your hose that you usually screw into a garden hose nozzle. We're going to screw it on. And then take your hose like this and lift up the grating. The reason we want to do this, since it leaks a little, we want to make sure the water that leaks goes into the drain. So what you're going to do is you're going to curve the hose back like so that the water follows it and goes into the drain. And what you're going to want to do is, once you make sure the other end's in the water tunnel and not going to spray out when you turn the water on, you want to turn the water on quickly because you can see the water coming through. So go ahead and let the water fill up. And you're going to let it fill up to the top of this, I don't know what you want to call this grating or this screen. You want to fill it to the top right here. You don't want to go any higher. And it should also fill to about the line right here in the test section. While you're filling the water tunnel, make sure you run the hose across the honeycomb. You want to make sure there's no bubbles in the honeycomb when you run. That will hinder your flow and cause turbulence. So when it starts getting to about halfway, you're going to want to run this hose back and forth to make sure you get all the bubbles out. Water is at the top of the screen. We quickly want to turn off the water. Then you want to pull your hose out. Make sure to keep the hose above your head so that it doesn't drip water everywhere. And then put the hose in the drain to let all the water drain out that's inside the hose while filling it. So just let it sit there for a while. Now if you get water on the floor or if something spills, right here there's two squeegees that you can push the water towards the drain. And that's how we get that cleaned up. So that these two little broom poles are squeegees to push water away. So now that the water tunnel is full, we want to start setting everything up to run it. So first things first is down here, there's this black box. This is where all the parts are, like the shapes, the airfoils. Here we got extra dies. So there's green, red, and blue. These are the die colorings to replace. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the black casing so that I can use it. And the base place to put this is back over here in the corner. And you make sure to put the bottom, this clip bottom on the bottom. So I have it upside down. So you want to make sure that the little latch is on the bottom here. So you just open all the latches, and then you open it, and you can see all the accessories we have here. So we have a nose cone, we have a few different cylinders, we have an airfoil, a delta wing, and we also have some motors so you can turn the cylinder. We got our die to show the die insertion part to show flow visualization from upstream, and then we got a few stringers to move the nose cone and the delta wing to different angles of attack. So these are all the equipment we're going to use. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to show you how to put together and use the nose cone and delta wing. So to do that, you need this black piece here in the top left. This is what mounts to the water tunnel. And then you need this stringer. That's what you use with this in order to change the angle of attack. And you mount the nose cone in here. This can change the angle of attack. So make sure you put it in and that all the gears are working right. There we go. So when you use this, these two knobs here can lock this into place so it won't move on you anymore. So you can see here it's kind of hard to turn it, and if you encounter that, just loosen that up a little bit and then you can turn it. And then you can also do yaw. There's a little setting here to shift it. You see the set screw and the angled bracket can tell you where to go. So you're going to place that, and you're going to come over here and you see the two holes closest to the center, this hole and this hole. You're going to use that to mount this here. And there's a little box in this case that has screws in it. And what you're going to do is you're going to take the screws and just screw it on either side. And just screw it tight. You may need to get an Allen wrench from the toolbox, the black toolbox over there by the TA station. But these two you can generally just put in by hand and it should stick pretty good. Before you put them both down really tight, you want to make sure you get them both started. Alright. Once you have that in, you're pretty good to go. So once you have it set in there, then that's set up. The next thing we want to get is the two pieces you're going to use. So you can use either the delta wing or the nose cone. And if you notice, there's 3 tubes here, that's for the die on each of them. And if you're missing a coupling, just grab a coupling from the other one and put it on the other part. But luckily these 2 dies here have the couplings already on them. So what we're going to do is, you'll see the type of colors that are in here. So you see red. The bottom one here is the red color. So I'm going to connect that to the nose cone. And you just push it in. Then you see blue. So I'm going to choose blue, which should be the top one here. It really doesn't matter which order you put these colors in. And you just connect the tubing. And then you do the same for the last color. And then you just take this little rod here, you put the nose cone in, make sure to get all the air out of it. And you can see there's some dies coming out that used to be in here already from previous times. And then you just place it in your mechanism, and then you can hand tighten it down. You don't really need much. And then you have it set up, and you can see I can turn it up and down. And then I can loosen the set screw on the top here and turn it left and right. So next thing we need to do is we need to set up the flow bend, the water tunnel to start. In order to do that, you'll see a cord here. There'll be a yellow cord here right by the motor. You're going to take that and plug it into a normal outlet. Then there's an on-off switch right here. You're going to turn it to on, and it'll show testing, and then it'll show this, and now it's ready to be used. So stop means it's not running right now. You press start to run, stop to stop, and then if you press this down arrow, you can change the speed. Right here it says 5.5 inches per second max. So I can just, maybe I want to do the max. But you can vary it from 0 to 1, and when you have the speed you want here, you just hit start, and then it's going to start moving. And you'll hear it rev up. It takes a few seconds. The next thing we need to do is we need to get the air set up so we can use our dies. So what you do here is make sure it's untangled from the hoses. And you're going to take this and hook it to the air supply from the spool. You're going to turn it on very, very slightly. You don't want a lot of pressure. And if you have too much pressure, the hose will just blow off. Then what you do here is these are little micrometers to have a valve open the die. So you go ahead and just open them up a little bit on each of them to get the die flowing. And then once you see your die flowing, go ahead and turn them down so you don't cloud up the water tunnel of dye. And you can change the angle of attack, and you can see the flow. And this is good, very, very good experiment for the students. So you see all the vortexes that apply there at high angles of attack. Make sure all the bubbles are out of the dies. As you can see, there is still a bubble coming out. So go ahead and let that come out before the students come in. And you can actually see it's stationary there. Go ahead and jiggle it a little bit to get them all off. But once you have that done, then you can do the actual experiment. The red one really runs fast, so you're going to want to keep it closed pretty good. Now, what you'll notice is that the water is starting to turn a little bit green or blue because there's too much green and blue dye. There's some chlorine underneath the water tunnel that you can pour in to counteract this effect, but eventually the dye is going to get soaked, and you're going to need to drain it and refill it. So that's how you use the water tunnel with the nose cone. To use it with a delta wing, you do the same steps, connecting the dye hoses to the delta wing and switching out the nose cone. When you do this, you want to make sure you turn it off so it stops, and you want to make sure you turn the water tunnel off when you're doing this prior to switching it. Now, there's also another piece that we can use to send dye upstream from where your item is, and the way to do that is you use this part with the little dye wand here, and what you do is you stick the hose through the dye, the little holder, and then put the rod through it and tighten it, and then you're going to put it in the screw holes up here, right here. And you're going to take 2 more screws from the little box that you got from the package. And you're going to go ahead and screw that in. So now I can send dye onto an object upstream of the object. So say you have a car that you want to use or something of that nature, you can do that. So you go ahead and just tighten it on here. But if you're not going to use this, then I wouldn't put it in because you don't want any extra disturbances in the flow. So this screw right here on the side controls your height of your wand. And then these 2 screws on this side control how tight it is from side to side. But you can kind of leave them kind of tight but kind of loose so that you can move it side to side. And if you want to use, say, the red dye, then you just unhook the red dye from the other part and just connect it to it. Well, maybe instead of the red dye, I'll use whatever dye this is. So you just connect the hose to it, and then you want to make sure that you don't get dye on the table. If you do, grab a paper towel from behind you at the sinks and go ahead and make sure to do that. But now that I have the wand set up, I'm going to go ahead and hit start again. And I'm going to turn the pressure on to that point so that I get the dye coming through. So go ahead and turn your dye on. Let it turn it on full so you can get it to go through. And then I'll put this flat, and I'll adjust it so it's in front of it. And of course, it takes a minute for all the dye to get in there. And once you see the dye coming in, go ahead and turn it down a little bit so you don't have too much coming in and flooding everything. And then as you can see, I can move the dye to the position where I want it, so I can get flow visualization on other parts. And as you can see, I'm getting a pretty good visualization there. And when you're done with it, you just turn all the dyes off. And then press stop. And when you're done with everything, be sure to take it all off and put it back in the case, and then put the case back under the water tunnel. Once you get everything back in the proper position, go ahead and close the case. Make sure there's no wires hanging out so you don't crip them or break them. And then go ahead and put this back underneath the water tunnel. Then the next thing you want to do is you want to take the switch where you turned on the water tunnel and turn it off. Then unplug it from the wall and wrap the cord up as best as you can. Put the cord on top of the motor so the next person can easily find it. Then on the dyes, make sure you turn your air supply off and wrap all the dyes nice and neat, and the wire that you need to hook it to the air like this. And you can see here there's some dye left over from when we used it. You come over here to the sink, you get some paper towels, and you're going to want to just dry it up. Leave it nice and clean for the next group to come in and use it. And everybody leaving it clean will make it better for everybody to use it. So just make sure you clean up the dyes, so it's not left behind. And then if you need a little extra clean water to get rid of the dye all the way, just dip it in the water tunnel. It may take 2 or 3 paper towels to get it all up, but clean it up so that's nice and clean for next time. So that's pretty good. You check the other side. Is there anything really doing that? It's always good to wipe it down anyways. And if the paper towel gets too soaked, just get another one and just finish wiping it off. Alright. So now that I have this wiped down pretty good, it looks pretty nice. The next thing we need to do is drain the water tunnel. To do that, we're going to take our hose over here. You're going to put the threaded end, the male end, into the drain like it is right now when you let it drain from when you filled it up. You're going to take the female side and bring it over to the water tunnel. Then you're going to connect it down here. You see this little hose valve here. You're going to connect it down there. Tighten it. You're making sure that your male valve is still in the drain, and if so, go ahead and open this all the way up to drain the water tunnel. Now it's going to take a good amount of time to drain it, so you just let it drain, and once it's done draining, put the dust cover back on. Always put the dust cover on after you're finished with it and the water tunnel is drained. So you must stay and make sure the water tunnel is drained. Put the dust cover on afterwards, and then I'll show you how to put the hose away. Okay, so the water tunnel is pretty close to being empty. It's not going to empty out all the way due to the fact that there's bulkheads in it, so there's going to be a little bit of water left. That will just evaporate over time. So first thing you want to do is turn off the valve down here. You want to make sure it's closed all the way so that the next time somebody fills it up, they don't have to worry about closing the valve. Then you take the hose off, remembering to keep this part on you high, and then lift it up as you come towards the drain, and make it a nice, neat wrapping. And then make sure it's all drained out, and then just finish rolling it up, and then screw the two ends together, that way that no water spills everywhere. And then you're going to place the hose back underneath the water tunnel, right by the valve that you use to turn off the water from draining. So I'm going to just place that under here. That way all the equipment for the water tunnel is in one spot. Then you're going to take the cover, and you're going to place the cover back on the water tunnel. Now this takes just a little bit of figuring out. Kind of just pull it over for the first part, and just pull it over as you do it. Be careful not to let any more dust fall into the water tunnel. So once you get it on most of the way, then you're going to want to kind of straighten it out so that it's even on all sides, so it doesn't hang too much on one side of the floor.